play a character that I have to use body language and facial expressions, I'm going to jump at it. And Superman was that opportunity for me to take a character because when you look at the three villains, Terrence was a super vicious guy. Sarah was a man-eater. Somebody had to relate to the kids. So I took this character who was this big, brutish guy and played him like a child. And it worked very well.
Now, did you have any acting lessons and stuff like that?
Yeah, Robert Mitchum.
Okay. Hey, I got a question for you. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of out there. But you know Jackie Gleason. And you hear these stories about Jackie Gleason had something to do with the UFOs. You knew something about UFOs. Ever hear about a story like that?
Jackie was a good guy. He was a very, very talented man. He was very, very well respected by the mob. I mean, we had a lot of influence in the whole industry, music industry, everything, so. But
did you ever hear something about Jackie Gleason being taken to a base where, he got some inside information about UFOs?
You hear 50 stories about stuff like that. Okay. There's some true factors about whether there's the existence of this or the existence of that. Right. And there's people who have been to places in New Mexico that have seen things that no one talks about. And, everybody's always skirting the issues like everything in politics,
Okay, but did you ever talk to Jackie about it?
We had some discussions about it, yeah.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, and what did he say to you? Do you want to tell us what he said?
Well, but nobody, people are going to believe what they want to believe. So right. no matter what you say, people, there's 20 stories about my father. There's 20 right. stories about Charlie Luciana. Everybody thought Charlie Luciana died at the Naples airport in 1962. He faked his own death.
Really?
Nobody, and I've got pictures of him. His son lives in New Jersey. He and I talk all the time. There's pictures of Charlie in New York 3 years after he died.
Really?
With his family. And he came back and settled some things before he did die. And, Charlie was an amazing individual. I kind of like Charlie a lot, actually.
Jack O'Halloran, this is great stuff. Let's take a little commercial break here, okay? We're going to be right back with more of Jack O'Halloran, boxer, movie star, insider with the JFK assassination. We're even going to be talking about the Marilyn Monroe death. A lot of stuff we can hear from Jack O'Halloran. You can find his website at familylegacythenovel.com. The book is called Family Legacy. You can find it at the Opperman Report bookstore, Amazon, or you go to Jack's website.
And now a word from our sponsors. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by pscoco.com. Phoebe Sod is an independent curator with the Cocoa Exchange. The Cocoa Exchange is formerly known as Dove Chocolate Discoveries, and they make the finest silky smooth chocolate because the products start with the best cocoa beans, which are tested for quality and flavor by expert technicians. The Cocoa Exchange offers not just premium chocolates, but anything from sauces and spices to brownie and cake mixes, and even coffee and martini mixes. If you wish to treat yourself or someone you love to a sweet and tasty gift, then the Cocoa Exchange is the brand for you. So you go to pscoco.com, you click on the Shop Now button. You can see all their beautiful chocolates. You can order it right now tonight. It could be in your mailbox in a couple of days. Or if you want to get into the chocolate business, you want to be a chocolatier just like Phoebe Sod, click the Contact Us button, and you can learn how to get your own website, go into the cocoa chocolate business, and sell chocolate and make a little bit of money there. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. Well, you also do all kind of different services for you. An online dating service investigation. It's called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites. If you think your ex-husband or something is addicted to prescription medication, or involved in an extreme online pornography addiction, we can produce a report for you that you can use in court. Adoption investigations. If you want to locate your birth parents or your birth child you gave away from...
O'Reilly.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car,
I finally realized my battery was dying, so I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
For adoption, we can do adoption investigations for you, asset searches for you, locate bank accounts, hidden assets, hidden properties, hidden income, all different kinds of services in the asset search investigation. Email tracing. If you need to locate or identify somebody from just an email address, we can do an email trace investigation for you, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Jack O'Halloran, boxer, actor, JFK insider. Guy's got a little bit of everything. Father was Albert Anastasia, hung out with Meyer Lansky and Frank Costello. You can find his book, Family Legacy, and the website is familylegacythenovel.com. Now, one quick question. I got a million questions. I got to have you come back for another 2 hours. I mean, we got like 90 minutes to go. Let me ask you a question. I heard you didn't get along too well with Christopher Reeve. What went on there?
No, that's, there's so much embellished in everything. Christopher was a nice kid, but he was very immature. He was a kid. He was a 26-year-old with a 16-year-old brain, and he came from a very spoiled family in New Jersey. His mother was one of the wealthiest women in New Jersey. He went to Juilliard. The Superman was the very first movie he ever really did. And it was a huge role. And he really, when he came on the set, he was 172 pounds. And the guy that worked him out, we put up a plan together. And I told him, I said, you can't bulk this kid up because he is too vain. He won't wear anything underneath his costume. So just definition him like Steve Reeves, who was Mr. America, who was very defined and cut it like 195 pounds. I said it just put a lot of definition in him. And so they did that. And he I don't think they'll ever find another actor that could play Clark Kent Superman as well as he did. And, but he walked around like that. He wasn't like a lot of actors that you leave it on the set and then you go into your life, you do what you got to do. He walked around like Superman all the time. And he did something very, very foolish one time. And I called him out on it, and everybody made a big deal out of it, So I like Christopher. We never really had any animosities other than, he talked too much. He said things he shouldn't have said. He was very silly. Talked about my father and stuff and about my association in New York, and he didn't know what he was talking about.
I'm glad you explained that. Because when you do Google your name, it comes up, when you TMZ and stuff like that.
They take, the media takes everything out of context. You can't. It's like, I'll tell you exactly what happened. There's a very good restaurant in London called the San Marino's, and it's on Beecham Place. And the guy was a Italian guy. He was the first real explicit Italian restaurant in London, and he was a very good friend of mine. And I took a lot of business in from the studio. So they used to go in there and eat every night because the food was superb. And he was in there one night and he would talk about my father and everything in New York. And that's this. And a guy always called me on the phone. He said, do you know this Christopher Reeve kid well? And I said, what are you talking about? He was in here talking and saying a lot of things that I don't think he has the right to say. So the next day I went and I grabbed him and I said, you and I have to have a conversation. And then I had a conversation with him and we were in a room by ourselves. And then when we came back out, he pulled this Superman business. Nobody could talk to me that way and all this. I put him against the wall and I was just about ready to smack the hell out of him. and Richard Donner come up and whispered in my ear, "Not in the face, Jack, not in the face." And I dropped him, and I laughed like hell about it. I walked away, and people made a big to do. It just I never had another problem with him. It was Chris was a nice kid, but he lived in a fantasy world.
Yeah, the way you explain, he's a 24-year-old kid, and here you are with his life. I can totally understand what you're saying. By the way, I just want to caution you a bit because we will be airing this on AM radio. It's a family show there, Jack. Okay, so
okay.
Yeah, BS. Well, we want to keep you use BS instead of the other one. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Now another movie, real quick, Dragnet. Right now,
great film. A lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, underrated.
Danny Aykroyd was a great guy. Tom Hanks was a good guy, and I thought it was a very good film. You can watch Dragnet 50 times, and you'll never get all the one-liners that Danny Aykroyd did in it. There's just a lot of great humor in that picture.
Yeah, and Harry Morgan, from the original Dragnet, from MASH.
Harry was such a nice man, but he was so senile when he did that picture.
Really?
We actually lost him on the set.
Really? Oh, you can't tell.
He wandered off.
You can't tell. Well,
one of the nicest man. He was one of the nicest guys. God, I really liked Harry. Harry was a good guy.
Now, what interests me about that movie is the theme of the movie or the story is that this chaotic group called the Pagans are trying to cause chaos, and they're hooked up with this guy like a Hugh Hefner, Larry Flint kind of character. Was that based on Larry Flint or Hugh Hefner?
Well, I think it was Hefner.
Okay. Now,
I don't think Flint was that prominent yet.
But it's very similar to a real life group called the Process Church. There's this. Okay, now what did that come up in the making of the film?
No, it was a good script. Tom Mankiewicz is a good writer. And it was a good script. It was a fun movie. I mean, it was just a lot of fun doing it. Hollywood,
And you've heard of the Process Church?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And how did you hear about them?
Well, I'm a street person. I know about everything that goes on in the street.
Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. And do you ever came into contact with them?
Do I ever what?
Did you ever come into contact with them?
No, people like that don't bother me.
Okay.
They don't come near me.
Very interesting. And you didn't see
smart. They're much smarter than that.
You didn't see that kind of theme in the movie, though?
Nah, I mean, it was, you could attribute a lot of things to a lot of things if you want to. People make mountains out of molehills all the time. It's just, it is what it is. And the way they did the film, I thought worked out very well. I thought it was a good film myself.
No, it's a highly underrated film for sure. It's a highly underrated film. You can watch it 100 times, like you said. Okay. Now, what about some other? You hear about these other famous people in Hollywood, like people like Lou Costello and Desi Arnaz, having these organized crime connections. What can you tell us about that?
Well, they all did. I mean, the industry was controlled for a long time.
Right.
Lou Costello was out of New Jersey. And the most entertainment at that time, music business and everything they had their thumbs in everything, because you got to understand something. Hollywood in the 20s and 30s, the cinematography union was out of Chicago. The mob from Chicago ran that part of the business and ran it for years.
And what about today?
It's a whole different business today. It's just everything turned into business, and people forgot how the industry really runs. Actually, hopefully it's coming back to a little bit of the old scenario again, but studios have gotten just way out of context.
I wanted to touch on too. We talked a little bit off the air about the death of Marilyn Monroe. What do you know about that?
Marilyn was, Marilyn was an amazing lady. She had an affair with Jack Kennedy, but she fell in love with Bobby. Bobby Kennedy, she really fell in love with. And when she got pregnant, she was calling him up to tell him that she would take care of it like the other 11 abortions that she had. And he cut her off. She couldn't reach him by phone. She couldn't reach him by his private phone. every outlet she had to reach him, he turned her away. So she started drinking and popping more pills and stuff. And she talked a lot because she knew a lot, So Sam Giancana took her up to Lake Tahoe.